There is something quietly ironic about human confidence. Often, the people who know the least speak the loudest, and the people who truly understand tend to slow down, choose their words carefully, and leave the room for learning. We laugh when we see this play out, but beneath the humor is a deep truth about growth, humility, and wisdom. Psychology calls this the Donny-Drucker effect. Christmas gives us the perfect lens to understand it. At its core, the Donny-Drucker effect describes a simple pattern. When people have limited knowledge, they often overestimate their understanding. When knowledge deepens, confidence becomes more measured, not weaker, just wiser. This happens because the ability to recognize gaps in understanding requires the very insight we do not yet have. Early confidence is often not competence, it is unawareness. As learning grows, humility follows. That deep in confidence is not failure, it is awakening. And this pattern shows up everywhere, including our faith. Now, pause and consider how God chose to enter the world. No stage, no announcements to scholars that, hey, I'm on my way. No intellectual debates, just a child, a manger, shepherds, silence. If confidence were proof of authority, Christmas would have looked very different. Instead, God chose smallness, patience, and restraint. Power arrived without noise. Truth arrived without pressure. Christmas quietly dismantles the idea that strength must announce itself. Long before psychology gave language to it, Scripture named the same human tendency. If anyone thinks that he knows anything, he does not yet know as he ought to know. 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 2. Proverbs adds another layer to it. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. The Bible does not criticize learning. It cautions against certainty without depth. It wants us to be very careful of overconfidence without wisdom. We see the Drucker effect in faith communities when confidence grows faster than character. When a little revelation produces rigid conclusions. When disagreement feels like disrespect. When correction feels threatening. When spiritual language replaces spiritual maturity. And yet, the believers who have walked longest with God often sound different. They ask questions. They listen deeply. They say, I am still learning, without fear. That posture is not weakness, it is fruit. Jesus stands as the clearest constraints to the Kroger effects. He had complete knowledge, yet he did not rush conversations. He had divine authority, yet he washed the feet. He had every answer, yet he asked questions. that invited reflection. From Jesus, we learn attributes that directly oppose shallow confidence. Teachability, even in authority. Patience, even when misunderstood. Gentleness, even when correcting error. Listening before speaking. Humility without insecurity. Silence, when silence carried more truth than words. Jesus never needed to prove he was right. His life revealed it completely. This is wisdom. As Christmas and the New Year invites all of us to slow down, here is a question worth sitting with. When someone challenges your view, what rises first? Curiosity or defensiveness? Defensiveness usually protects fragile understanding, but curiosity reflects growing wisdom. James captures this posture beautifully. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. That is not just good psychology. It is Christ-like maturity. The Kruger effect is funny. When we see it in others, it becomes formative when we recognize it in ourselves. Christmas reminds us that God, who knows everything, chose to arrive as a child who listened, learned, and grew. Not because he lacked wisdom, but because he honored the process of becoming. As this season comes to a close, Christmas does not call us to be louder, sharper, or more certain about everything. It calls you and I to be teachable again, to listen more, to speak with care, to hold truth with humility, and perhaps the most honest prayer we can carry into the end of this season is a simple one. And I want you to pray this prayer with me. Lord, teach me. Teach me today. And I want you to say this prayer with a humble heart. That prayer keeps the laughter gentle. The Lord, teach me. It teaches the learning to be alive and the hearts aligned with a quiet wisdom Christmas has always offered.